3, 2, 1. Boom!
Hello everybody, how are you doing? Okay, welcome to week 8 of the running YouTuber news. Now, I've been suffering this week from man flu, and Sue hasn't been very sympathetic. She told me I should have got my flu jab because she's feeling fine, so really rubbing it in. Anyway, I haven't been running since last Wednesday now, so yeah, my annual mileage is looking absolutely terrible. Anyway, this week we talked about the CIM marathon in the States, some personal YouTuber news, and just a few random little videos that I enjoyed along the way. So let's get stuck in. Okay, let's start off with Matt Fox, and just to prove that he's still got a sense of humour with his somewhat checkered history with Nick Bester there, getting a boom shakalaka in. So this was Matt's third marathon in, what, basically the last 3 months, isn't it? And he managed to do 2:19:45, so a third 3:20 in a row. I think that's quite remarkable to actually have that sort of level of performance back after back. I'm also very sceptical of people who do back-to-back marathons. Usually it's more the influence of types just going around on the world tour, isn't it? So actually to put in 3 quality performances back-to-back is something quite amazing. And I think Matt was saying in this one that in a way he thought this was his best performance. It wasn't his best performance time-wise. Matt was saying that he found the course quite challenging, even though it's a notoriously net downhill course, not by a huge amount that it would disallow it from, say, power of 10, but I don't think you can set a record on this course because it's sort of the net downhill nature of it. But I think it's a bit like Boston in a limited sort of way, that it is a bit up and down, so there are some ups as well as downs. And he did remark that he didn't feel he had enough sort of experience is not the right word, sort of recent training on this sort of course. And you can see on that sort of clip there what sort of slope that did actually look at, didn't it? And oddly in this race, he was actually the pacemaker for the sub 220 group. So I think what he was trying to do is get to halfway, which I got him down at 1:09:32, and then to see if he could then push on from there. And he said that he got to about 30k, and I think he actually missed a few bottles or something. So he was kind of missing a few carbs. He said in hindsight he wished to have taken a few more gels up his back pocket. But yeah, I mean, to their 1:09:32 pacemakings, and then basically just did like a 1:10, didn't need to finish in 2:19:45. So I think it's an exercise in how many elite level, sub-elite level marathons you could run back to back, and it's quite impressive. And it just goes to show, I think sometimes you do need to race a lot. And I found that with my 5Ks, in a sort of crude example, that if you get yourself out on the line regularly and keep trying different things, and Matt's videos are fascinating for the amount of sort of talk about nutrition and all the sort of stuff he does. So you might think some of them are sort of like product placements, but yeah, you can't really argue with 3 sub 220s in a row, can you? And he's now PB is a 2:18, so I think he's definitely got a 2:16, 2:17 in him for sure. But yeah, remains to be seen where the next one will be. Knowing him, it won't be long. And Matt's wife, Reem, here also ran. Not perhaps the best day out for Reem. She suffered really at the end. I noticed on the app that she was really struggling in the last 5K, just over 30 minutes, I think. But yeah, I think sometimes you just need to sort of try these things and see what works out and what doesn't. And I did find it quite amusing here that they showed their little dog here, who I don't think that they obviously took with them, and he was a bit annoyed, I think, that they left him alone for a couple of days. I presume he had someone to feed him and stuff, but yeah, got a little jumper inside. Don't know if it's that cold where they are, but anyway. So Matt wasn't the fastest YouTuber running. This was actually Michael Ottesen here. I haven't featured him before, but he's now a 2:15:20 marathon runner. Now, I think he was one of those athletes from America, obviously, that his big aim was to get onto the Olympic trials qualifier of 2:18. And he said in this video, this is like his pre-video, that he was almost so focused on that time goal, he didn't actually ever race the marathons. And an athlete of this quality can actually sort of obviously race marathons, and indeed he finished 16th. And he said that his goal for this race was actually trying to finish in the top 10, and his secondary goal was to do a sub 2:17. So bizarrely, he failed by 6 places on the first goal, but really crashed that PB with an amazing 2:15:20. He went through the first half in 1:06:24, so he slowed a bit in the second half, didn't he? But sometimes you just need to get yourself out there, and I always think like a slight positive split isn't too bad. Sometimes you just need to sort of run with your flow, don't you, and get into the groove and then see if you can hang on. It doesn't usually work in a marathon, but yeah, clearly did work today. As I said, I haven't yet seen Michael's analysis of the race itself, but you know, we'll look forward to seeing that one, and definitely one that's just worth checking out for sure. Now, this video caught my eye, and I don't really like to shy away from a bit of controversy on this channel, especially this news feature. So This is a lady called Evan Kim. I say lady, well, she's only actually 12, and remarkably, she did a time of 2:55.49. Now, I think there's a couple of things that are remarkable about this. I think the first thing to me is, regardless of the time, is the fact that a 12-year-old is allowed to run a marathon. And obviously, the rules in the States are somewhat different to what they are in the UK, because you would have to be 18 in the UK to run a marathon. In fact, you can't even run a park run on your own until you're 11, and you can't run a 5K on the track until you're probably 13, 14, something like that. But having said that, look at this girl here. She's a very good form, isn't it? I mean, I presume that's Alpha Fly she's got on there. And yeah, I mean, a time of 2:55, well, I think most runners out there of club standard would be delighted with that. And that would basically more or less get you in good for age as a senior man. And here's a girl 12 doing it. I'm not sure that they have any rules at all in the States, because I saw even 9-year-old boys was running it. I would say boys, I think there was one, but he took about 6 hours. So I'm thinking, well, is he really enjoying that, running for 6 hours? And who's encouraging him to do that? Is he running around with his dad? It just seems a bit odd to me. I mean, this channel here is All Heart RC. I don't have to admit, I don't know too much about it. I think it's possibly the dad that does the filming, or the coach, I'm not sure. But they do have a nice footage here. And when I first saw this, I thought, oh, this is just a short lady. And I thought, oh, and I sort of looked again, and she's actually only 12. But I just don't know. It's just think, well, this is clearly a very talented athlete, and some athlete that may go on to bigger things in the general scheme of things. But I just sort of think, oh, is this really what we should be encouraging in the sport of running? It was interesting. I also thought that although she did very well, and she actually was the first female in the under sort of 20 category, her age graded was 87.4%, which is very good, but interestingly, it was way, way short of what the elites do. It was the overall race was won in 2:7:35, and on the men's side, and Kali Hoiga Thackeray won the women's in 2:24:28, and those sort of times have given you about 95% age graded. So if the aim is to make the next Olympics, then you've got to not only increase your ability in actual time, because obviously a 2:55 isn't going to get into the Olympics, is it? But you need to improve that relatively as well. And if you're already running marathons at 12, where are you going? I'm not just quite sure. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to sort of like sound overly negative here, but it just seems odd to me that the rules can vary so much between what you might argue is one of the two biggest sort of running nations in the world. And I do notice in the majors that they follow more international rules. So in the results here, you saw that all the athletes around Evan did a BQ, Boston qualifier, but she didn't, because obviously at 12 you can't do a BQ, although she would have obviously qualified for the over 18 age groups by a country mile. And here's some pictures of her training. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this. Is it just an amazing performance, or do you more align to my sort of belief that 12-year-olds are a bit young to be running marathons, and perhaps they should be concentrating on 8s and 15s? So now we come across to Japan. Literally, this is Jake Barraclough. He did the Fukuoka International Marathon first weekend of December, and he did a time of 2:18:28, just outside his PB of 2:17:26. Now, in his true motto of training harder, not smarter, he gave this a real effort and went out pretty hard on the first half and was on PB pace, but I think he just sort of felt he ran out of steam. Now, I do wonder sometimes, because all the Japanese runners do an amazing amount of mileage, and Jake has really bought into this, and he's running about 130 miles a week, just seems to be permanently tired all the time, seems to struggle in his sessions. And I'm kind of thinking, this is amazing mileage, and if you're a professional athlete and had nothing else to do, then yeah, maybe it would work. But is there a point now that when you sort of been doing this for a while, do you just reach a plateau, and where do you go? Because I mean, I always think, well, the Japanese runners are amazingly good against themselves, but on the true world stage, you don't really ever see them at the front of international marathons, do you? I think when I checked in the current world rankings, there was nobody really in the top 20 or 30. And yeah, the quality times sort of down the 2:06 mark, something like that, but not really challenging the Kenyans and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think can't really argue with a 2:18:28, but you just wonder sometimes about, is this massive mileage really working? Because Jake seems to complain that he's struggling in sessions, and if you run that much, do you ever have any zip in your legs at all? I just wonder, because I mean, he must be at a level now where he's running sort of low 5-minute miling in marathons, but that's not that fast, is it, in the general scheme of things for an athlete of that quality? So, I think when I was sort of running 2:33s, I was often thinking I could get under sort of like 4-minute pace in sessions and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, obviously he's going to be running pretty quickly in half marathons and stuff, but yeah, just sometimes I wonder. But this is always a great watch, Jake, really, and definitely recommend you watch this because I think he does take the mickey out of himself quite a lot. And there he goes, patting his stomach after a nice hearty bit of takeaway Japanese rice there. Well, it's not really takeaway. They seem to sort of almost like do it by button pressing. You have to sort of press this button to have so much rice pop out. And yeah, it's an interesting take on the lifestyle in Japan as well. Certainly do recommend this channel. It's very good fun to watch. Let's have a quick look at his Strava from the race. So here we go. Gave it everything and a bit extra. Very pleased with that after a shocking couple of months of training. Just a look down at these splits here. Yeah, I mean, it's a very fast start, wasn't it? He was basically bang on 5-minute miling for the first 10K. Yeah, there's a breakdown of his splits. So the first 15K, 15:49, then a 15:48. So yeah, be pleased with that for 10K alone. There's the halfway split, 1:7:32. So it wasn't a drastic slowing, was it? But maybe there was a PB on the cards there with a slightly smarter racing strategy, maybe. So if you remember from last week, I commented that Anya Culling was heading out to Honolulu. I assumed it was for a holiday, which I think it probably was. And maybe she had some modelling type stuff there or some stuff like that. So, but yeah, she actually took a chance to run the marathon in 2:53:15. So not a too bad effort at all straight after a 2:42 the previous week. So let's have a quick look at these pictures here. And she's a Lululemon sponsored athlete, so I think that kit there is their kit. And yeah, looking very pleased with herself. And yeah, I presume that must be post-race on the beach. So yeah, in December, when it's all miserable and cold and I've got a man flu, this is quite envious of this sort of weather. We are going to Portugal over New Year, though. Now, in other news, I spotted this on Instagram that Phily, Bowden and Daniel have actually got engaged after 6 years together. So this little reel here on Instagram is Phily voicing over some nice little footage of them two together over the years, and she says that he's basically her best friend. So I think she's definitely found her soul partner in life, and they are obviously business partners in their YouTube channel and their other ventures. Daniel does basically all the filming and the editing. Now, he did an interesting video himself a couple of weeks ago where he talked about his aspirations through childhood into adult life with being an actor, and he said he's finally sort of put that to bed now and realised that although that obviously would have been great, that it doesn't necessarily pay the bills, and he wasn't really getting the roles. And this editing stuff is something he sort of taught himself and has actually now become obviously quite good at it, and have to say that with a degree. And he also does that as for other people. I know he edits Elliot Giles's videos for one, and also they've got big plans for their channel going forward and their other ventures. So yeah, it's great to see. Congratulations to both of them. Now, Allie Ostrander here has had a bit of a lump on her gland there, and so she's decided to have it removed by surgery. So this is just her relating her experience in hospital, and it seems to have gone fine from what I can gather. I think this is about a week ago now, and her boyfriend Spencer Brown, the athlete special, was there. No news of an engagement from those two yet, but surely it can't be long, maybe. They seem to have been together now for a while and definitely seem to be getting on very well, as to be said. So, yeah, Allie's up to 80.9k subscribers now. So, yeah, it makes my 7k look a bit pathetic, doesn't it? But perhaps helps having a nice personality and being a far better athlete. So yeah, I hope the recovery goes well, and looking forward to seeing how you get on. I'm interested to know what she does now, because she had that sort of decent campaign on the steeplechase in the summer when she got to the Olympic trials and didn't quite make the team. It wasn't too far out, but she's doing a trail running now for normal. I'm not quite sure whether the trail running is really her forte. I thought she might be sort of more like a 10-mile half marathon, 10k road runner, but yeah, it remains to be seen. Should do a few more of them. But I suppose in a way it's quite nice that she's mixing up different events. So interesting to see whether she'll go back to the steeplechase for a few times now. I think it's her mum there. So yeah, right, and that's Spencer. So one of my early editions of the Running YouTuber News, I came across a guy called Luke Talbot, because I wasn't sure he was reviewing a shoe. So I've been following some of his videos recently, and he had a terrible accident in this turkey trot race here, where he set off. I'll just play this forward, and there he's on the right there in 2217, just gets kicked from behind and falls over. And he picks himself up, as you often do when that sort of happens in a race. And he probably would have run about low 15-minute equivalent for a 5K in this race, and he soldiers on. But unfortunately, it turned out he'd actually broken his collarbone in doing so, and yeah, he gets to the point now when he's just basically realising, I think, he just can't really carry on anymore. And I think actually did actually walk to the line and finished it, so great kudos for that. But then he actually went to hospital and then found out he had a broken collarbone. So the last few videos he's been documenting is obviously recovering from that. And yeah, I think it was just an accident, but one of those things that you think, oh, wish that guy hadn't clipped me from behind. I'm sure it wasn't intentional, but just one of those things. So yeah, you can see there's a lot of pain there, isn't it? So yeah, send him some love and I hope he gets better soon. Okay, it's the season of the Oscars, and here is my friend Andy, the FOD runner, in his Christmas Calories t-shirt there, and he's got his running shoe awards. Now, I think what we're interesting with Andy, that we will probably actually agree to disagree on some of these shoes. Now, I think a lot of these shoes I don't actually have, and spoiler alert, he has his favourite shoe as one of the shoes that I perhaps was most me about this year, which was the Mach 6. If I can scroll to that bit. And yeah, there we go. On these buffed out trails. He never cleans his shoes, Andy. Perhaps we should show more effort in like that. But he does sort of like to emphasise the fact that he does actually run in them. But yeah, he actually clearly loves this Mach 6 shoe. I didn't find it too bad, but the first time I used it, I got a big blood blister. And it's a typical Hoka fit, which I thought, oh, it was a bit odd. Even though I got narrow feet, it just doesn't seem to fit me that well. And I thought, never liked those 5mm drops. So a shoe I probably wore a couple of times, and Andy's probably wearing it about 500 miles or something like that. Now in flop of the year, we've got a Brook shoe here, the Ghost 16, I think, or something like that. And yeah, and perhaps I would agree with that, having had the Ghost 15, although apparently the foam is better. But of course, it was just a prelude to the real flop of the year, which of course was the Pegasus 41. Now this is a shoe that I actually don't find too bad. Maybe it's the fact I'm doing a bit of run walk, and perhaps I'm sort of having to go back to basics and just really sort of pretend I'm a beginner runner again. But I did find it does offer me the opportunity to put in an insole with more arch support or not, and I do like the look of it. I've got the Volt colorway one. Now I also chatted to some of his friends like Rob, who also hates them, so they think I'm completely mad to like the Pegasus. Now Robin Marbut here rode to trail. Now I think he's just escaped from prison, but he was so incensed by the fact that a certain reviewer, who I can no longer mention, didn't think that the Evo SL was the best shoe ever. He actually went out and did a video with it in his sort of burglar outfit, and yeah, it does match the shoe quite well, doesn't it? Quite nicely. And apparently, though, it doesn't have nice laces and it doesn't have a gusseted tongue. So I'm beginning to wonder what the hype is about. But in a minute, you'll even see him going on a muddy towpath. Ah, this is the one. Evo SL after 100k, still shoe of the year. And look at that water there. Oh, look at that mud. Looks like a towpath to me. He managed to get through it without unscathed. Has he still got a white shoe, though? We might need to skip along to see what state these shoes are in. And yeah, it looks like it's good for walking up off a steep towpath or some sort of cycleway there. So yeah, very versatile, I'm sure. Let's see if we can see the state of these shoes. He's now taken one off. What's going on here? Ah, you see that? There we are. Let's inspect them afterwards. Yeah, it's a bit of mud on the heels there for sure, but yeah, a few flash wipes will soon clean them up. What's the German equivalent of a flash wipe, I wonder? But yeah, Evo SL, I think I missed out on the draw for it again. I didn't even enter this time. I'm getting a bit bored of all this stuff. It's £130 shoe, and I'm sure it'll be discounted to about £80 within the first few months when they kind of realised that they made far too many, and all the people that actually wanted the hype one have already got one. And there's Confuse's review of it. What does he say about it? Oh, it's the Pro Evo one. Oh no, what does he say about it? I can't remember actually. Or he equates it to a Pegasus Plus. Well, can't be too bad then, can it? Now, Aubrey's also been doing his best shoes of the year. And I thought this was interesting because there could be a collaboration coming on the cards here. Because look at these comments. Where is it? Where is it? The one in question, and we want to know. Yeah, here we go. Here's Robin. Evo SL for me. He's really just doing the rounds, selling the shoe, isn't he? The Mitsudo one, the New Vista, that was Aubrey's favourite. I haven't tried it yet, but it looks weird. And yeah, Aubrey replies saying he's a big fan. He's going to go off and subscribe. So there you go. As I said, spoiler alert, the winner was the New Vista. Second was actually the Mach 6. Now, why has Aubrey got all black versions of these shoes? They always don't seem to come in those colours when I look. But yeah, the stealth editions of them, isn't it? So here we go. Third place was the Evo SL, and I think it kind of lost out because obviously it doesn't have a gusseted tongue, and I don't think the laces are that great. And yeah, that Mach 6 does look a bit sort of stealth, doesn't it, compared to the one that Andy was having there in the sort of the bluey purpley one. But yeah, looks a bit better than if I had a colour like that. But yeah, didn't win over the new Vista. I think just that soft midsole was something that just Aubrey preferred. So good to see him doing some training again, and be interested to know what marathon he's going to be doing next. Now, some more news of injured runners. Well, this is actually Nick Bear, who it was more of a hybrid athlete, but I think he's a very fine runner. I think he did a 2:39 marathon, something like that. It might have been faster than that. But anyway, he got hit by a vehicle on his morning run. So I think he had to go to hospital to be checked out, but it's good to see that he's obviously back home and talking through it. So yeah, I haven't actually watched this video yet. I did notice on Instagram that he was reporting from hospital, as it were. So good to see that he's actually okay. Well, you know, obviously not still in hospital, and I'll probably go and check this one out to find out the full story. But yeah, it just shows you've got to be careful out there, people. And I do often myself run in the roads quite a lot, and sometimes I get beeped up by the horns and think, oh, so annoying. I better not swear on YouTube. I might get bleeped out. But yeah, sometimes you realise that even if you are on the right or the wrong, you're the runner and they're the car, and yours going to come out second best in that situation, isn't he? So yeah, sometimes things like this make you realise that just have to be careful. I did have a friend, actually, a club mate, who sadly passed away. He got hit by a car whilst on holiday, and they didn't find him for a day or two. So yeah, it's not the way you want to go, is it? But yeah, that's a poignant reminder of that, actually. Anyway, let's move on to slightly more upbeat news. Sometimes I just click onto random videos to just sort of see what they're like, see whether it's worth featuring. And I had this one bookmarked for a couple of weeks. This is Emlo Nema. Now, somebody you've very likely and not heard of. She's only got 57 subscribers, only 214 views on this video. But it was about her documenting her journey to her first marathon. I thought it was quite a good video, actually. It was quite realistic, and her struggles with combining running with the rest of her life. I think she just set herself a challenge this year to do a marathon with a triathlon last year, and she had a bit of a problem that she got a last minute injury and wasn't able to run, but she found another one in 2 weeks' time. So yeah, very bubbly personality, and here she is actually running this marathon, obviously not setting the world's alight for the fastest marathon ever, but that's never quite the intention, is it? And it was the Frankfurt marathon, so one that Robin may know himself. I think he might have run it, actually. Not sure if it was this year, but yeah, it's a nice finish, that, isn't it? It's all with those strobe lights on a red carpet, and I think you can just about see her finishing there. Seems to be overtaking a few people in doing so, so maybe got a bit of talent there for next time. But yeah, well done her. So yeah, definitely worth having a quick look at that one. 5 hours 26:09. So yeah, a sort of example, I think, of somebody who's sort of trying to do their best in the first marathon, and yeah, just get it done without too much sort of fuss or whatever. So let's finish off with a little bit of stats analysis on my own YouTube. So this is my subscriber growth over the last year, and you can see it's sort of a gradual sort of 1 or 2 a day type affair. So I started the year, well, as of a year ago, at 5588, and I'm now at 7003. So you can see that it's pretty much a steady growth throughout the year, not by much. You get the occasional sort of spike. I think sometimes when I put out a video, or like say analysing stuff before a Valencia marathon or Berlin marathon or something like that, you get a bit of extra subs. And I think these news ones have helped a bit, but I'm never really in this for subscriptions, really. I mean, it's a metric that always people on YouTube look to, but really it's almost like a bookmark, because you kind of like click subscribe to somebody, and if you never watch them again, well, that's not much use, is it? And plenty of channels I watch, like especially the golf ones, and then realise I haven't even subscribed. I've been making a point of subscribing to all the channels that I've been following to make sure I keep up with them. But I have to say, I do obviously look at channels of a similar ilk to me, like Donato here and Running Broom, see how many subscribers they got. Ones like FOD Runner and Ed Budd, to see what you might aspire to in the day. Even Aubrey, seeing how quickly he's growing, and Chris Seguso running, he's growing very well as well. So I was kind of surprised by this the other day, because Donato hadn't really had too many more subscribers more than me. We'd also been having a bit of an invisible challenge. So the other day I was thinking, oh, he's got to 8,000, that's amazing. And then he's saying we should get to 10,000. Well, how's he doing that? Because he's doing this for 10 years, and he's been subscriptions are going along slowly. And 9 days ago, he was celebrating getting to 8,000, and then he's already up to 10,000. And I thought, how's he doing that? 5 days ago, so he went from 8,000 to 10,000 in about 3 or 4 days, and he's now at 10.8 subscribers. So he's almost grown 50% subscription base within the last 10 days. I was thinking, well, how's that possible? Has he been run a world record for his age group or something like that? And he's put out some videos recently, and yeah, I mean, I watched some of them, but they haven't been exactly sort of like been, what's the word, viral, have they? I think, oh, maybe it's the shorts. And I know he has been sort of like targeting sort of non-running stuff for the shorts. And I think, well, what's going on here? And if I go into popular, I see this one here, 4.6 million views. So I click on this one. I thought, oh, it looks familiar-ish. And a bit of research, this is a Dave Allen sketch from back in the 70s, where all the neighbours basically getting a long line here. They keep saying morning as each one pops out the door, and they form this long line. And the joke is that they seen at the end entering a sardine factory, which is obviously the clue that I was able to find it. So yeah, I was kind of thinking, well, it's great in a way that you get subscribers for this and off the back of that. But if you are a running channel, I'm not quite sure what to make of this. It's a bit like the earlier one with the 12-year-old. I mean, I love Donato and stuff, but is this really what you want to be getting from subscribers who are actually watching your comedy shorts? I think what people tend to do with this stuff is have one channel for one theme and then another one for another one. And then they are going into the prestige sardine packing company all packed together. So yeah, it was quite a funny video, but obviously it wasn't his video. And I'd just be worried if I did that, I'd get a copyright strike. And if you've got a copyright strike when you've got 5 million views on something, yeah, I think we just have to be careful. Anyway, hope you take my analysis of that in the right way. And yeah, be interested to see what you think of that. Just noticed a new video here by Jog On with Harry Morgan. He's underestimated the UK's longest cider run. So I think this would be one to have a look at. And yeah, I'm sure this will be a fun video. Old Harry does produce some amazing videos, but he does seem to spend months doing it because it does look rather warm there, doesn't it? So I think the amount of effort you must go into doing these videos is quite amazing. But yeah, he's up to 56k subscribers. So I think it's another example of an observation on YouTube is that you spend time getting a really good video and a high quality one, doing the sort of immaculate voiceovers, a lot of B-roll like this, and yeah, you grow the subscribers. I'm seeing it was already there at 3.5k views after 7 hours, and I'm sure that one will grow and grow and grow. But yeah, as against people who put out stuff almost like confetti every day. So there's all different ways of doing YouTube. But for me, it's just really a bit of a hobby, and it's a good talking point. Something else, I've got a bit of man flu at the moment. I can't really talk about my own running this week, or lack of, can I? So yeah, let's see how Harry gets on with this one. Plenty of cider drinking. I never think that alcohol and running are good. I remember I was a student and I did used to drink a bit back in those days. And I remember going for like the freshest week, going for a few shandies, should we say, at lunchtime, and then trying to do a run afterwards. It's probably the most ill I'd ever felt, actually putting 2 feet in front of another. We did do a few beer runs sometimes, but I don't think I'd really much into that. I think it's sort of better on the lemonades than there was on the beers. I hardly ever drink at all these days, to be fair, but that's often an excuse I'm sort of ferrying Sue around, or some of her friends. The spare wives, I call them. One of them, because she's got exactly the same surname as us, called Virginia. So yeah, you almost could actually get away with a spare wife in that case. And there's Harry. So let's leave this as sort of a taster to see what actually goes on in this video. I'm sure it'll be good fun. Anyway, hope you found this interesting. Like and subscribe, and see you on the next one then. Bye.